Let's take a nostalgic A to Z stroll through the decade that was the 1970s and revisit the days of Evel Knievel, tank tops and high karate aftershave. This is the A to Z of 70s memories. Perhaps the most iconic dessert of the 70s, Arctic Roll was a perfect mix of vanilla ice cream and raspberry jam, all wrapped in a soft sponge casing. Originally invented in the 1950s, it hit the big time in the 70s and became a staple dessert at dinner parties and Sunday lunch. Proof that some things never go out of style, you can still get Arctic Roll today too. It's the dessert that makes you feel young again. The Atari VCS is probably the first home video games console that many of us remember. Released in the US in 1977, it made its way to the UK in 1978. The Atari VCS, later known as the Atari 2600, brought arcade games into our living rooms. Classic games like Space Invaders and Pac-Man kept us glued to the screen for hours. Who needs fresh air when you can defeat aliens in the comfort of your own home?
Ah, that's me, taking my third curtain call at the Alhambra Bradford. Set! They loved me.
Oh, sorry, I thought this was the party.
This is the party. Right. Who's for Atari? Oh.
What's more, it's my party. Music hall's dead, sunshine. Pac-Man, Missile Command, Super Breakout, that's where the action is. All linked up, young man?
Just a moment.
Right. Anyone for Haunted House? You have to be fast on your feet for this. Oh, don't say that. I want to show you stop dancing next.
Atari. Simply more fun and games.
Brut. The fragrance that every man in the 70s seemed to have. It was a strong scent, perfect to be able to splash it all over. If you didn't leave the house smelling like you just had a bath in it, then something wasn't right. Brut was such a big deal that it still has a cult following today. But who doesn't love a bit of nostalgia with their grooming?
Now that's Barry Sheen on number 7. He's a man to watch here. Look at him go. Whoops. God. Now you know why he's been world champion 2 years running.
Well done, Barry.
Yeah, what a way to earn a living.
Oh, it's got its brighter side, you know.
It's all right for some.
Of course, I alter my Brut 33.
Go on, Steph. Splash it all over. Nothing beats the great smell of Brut.
The restaurant chain Bernie Inn became synonymous with dining out in 1970s Britain. Established in 1955, by the 1970s it was the largest food chain outside the United States. If you were taken to a Bernie Inn for a meal, you knew it was a special occasion. A typical meal? Prawn cocktail to start, followed by a steak, and ending with a Black Forest Gatto. Clothing chain C&A was a staple for British families in the 70s and 80s. It was where you went for your back-to-school uniform and maybe a wing-collared shirt for Dad. The initial C&A stood for the Christian names of the brothers who founded the company in 1841, Clemens and August. For years, I thought it was coats and hats.
Come and see CNA tomorrow. It's such a surprising store.
There can't be many 70s kids who don't remember Charley Says, those quirky animated public information films starring a cat named Charlie. These shorts were aimed at keeping kids safe from various dangers, from playing near water to talking to strangers. All of the films were made in 1973, but were shown throughout the rest of the decade and into the 80s. A little bit of interesting trivia for you. Did you know that Charlie the cat was voiced by Kenny Everett?
Charley says always tell your mummy before you go off somewhere so she knows who you are with.
Disco, the sound and spirit of the 70s. Disco music originated in the US nightclub scene in the late 60s and early 70s, but quickly became a global phenomenon. With artists like Donna Summer, Bee Gees and Gloria Gaynor, disco music had everyone hitting the dance floor and trying, but failing, to be just like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. For some reason, turning up to your local village hall disco rocking a white suit just didn't have quite the same effect. Evel Knievel, the daredevil motorcycle stuntman who captured the imagination of millions in the 70s.
Evel Knievel.
Flamboyant and fearless, he was a cult hero to kids everywhere. Whether he was attempting a record-breaking jump over buses or trying to clear Snake River Canyon, you couldn't take your eyes off him. Evel Knievel merchandise, especially his legendary stunt cycle toy, was everywhere. His antics might have caused a few parents to worry, but for kids he was the ultimate symbol of bravery. Flares were one of the defining fashion statements of the 70s. The fashion conscious had to have at least one pair in their wardrobe, preferably in a vibrant colour or with a wild pattern. If you had a matching shirt with a huge collar, even better. It was all about making a statement. Glam rock defined the music genre during the early to mid-70s. It was colourful, glitzy and full of attitude. Popular glam rock artists included Slade, Mark Bolan, The Sweet and David Bowie. It was all about theatricality and making a bold statement. Whether it was in the clothes, the makeup or the music, glam rock had a larger-than-life presence. Ah yes, the Green Cross Code Man, superhero star of road safety public information films, first shown in 1975. Played by Darth Vader himself, Dave Prowse, the Green Cross Code Man taught kids to cross roads safely. Cleverly, each film ended with a reminder to young viewers from our hero that he wouldn't be there when they crossed the road, just to prevent any little mopheads deliberately jumping in front of an Austin Allegro just so they could meet the green and white clad hero. Just like Charley Says, the Green Cross Code films obviously worked, as we still remember them today. High Karate, the cult favourite aftershave of the 70s. Known for its TV adverts featuring the lovely Valerie Leon, this aftershave was so irresistible that it drove women wild, or so the commercials said anyway.
This is High Karate, and this unsuspecting girl is about to catch its irresistible scent. The High Karate scent that can turn a usually docile woman into a ravenous creature.
Oh, look out, mate!
A scent so irresistible that every pack of High Karate carries essential instructions on self-defense. High Karate aftershave. Be careful how you use it.
Would these adverts be made today? Highly unlikely. The Invacar, a single-seater microcar for the disabled, was a familiar sight on Britain's roads during the 70s. Distributed free to disabled individuals from 1948 through to the 70s, These highly distinctive blue vehicles played an important role in helping those with mobility issues gain independence. They were quirky, but served a good cause. Jaws, the blockbuster film released in 1975, terrified beachgoers everywhere. Directed by Steven Spielberg and adapted from the novel by Peter Benchley, this film became the highest-grossing movie of all time, at least until Star Wars came along a couple of years later. With its iconic theme tune and memorable set pieces, Jaws changed the summer blockbuster game forever. Canadian company K-Tel was most famous during the 1970s for its various compilation LPs. These albums were extensively advertised on television, with catchy slogans and colourful album covers. K-Tel was almost like the Spotify of its time, introducing people to new songs they may never have heard otherwise. Most of us probably owned a K-Tel compilation album at some point. Look-In magazine was a weekly TV listings and comic strip magazine aimed at children. Dubbed the Junior TV Times, it ran from 1971 to 1994, offering a mix of TV news, puzzles, interviews and comic strips based on popular TV shows of the era. With iconic cover artwork by Arnaldo Puzzu, Look-In featured comic strips for series such as The $6 Million Man and Buck Rogers, and British sitcoms like Bless This House and Man About the House. It was a weekly treat that many of us 70s kids eagerly look forward to. Mastermind, the cult code-breaking board game first released in 1971. Although it shares its name with the famous TV quiz show, the game famously actually had nothing to do with the show whatsoever. Instead, it was all about guessing the correct colour combinations with a few clever twists. The iconic box cover, featuring a James Bond-style villain and a mysterious Asian lady, is probably what people remember the most. It's one of those games that everyone owned, but hardly anybody played. Nookie Bear was the cheeky companion to ventriloquist Roger de Courcy. Roger and Nookie won the grand final of the TV talent show New Faces in 1976 and soon became regulars on television variety shows. With his cheeky banter, Nookie appealed to adults as much as he did to children. It was the golden age of British variety, and Nookie Bear was a delightful addition. As soon as you saw Nookie, you knew you were in for a few good laughs.
Feeling in the world.
On the Buses was one of the most popular TV sitcoms of the 1970s. So popular was it, the series spawned 3 spin-off films released during the decade. The first of these, On the Buses, was the highest-grossing film at the UK box office in 1971. Even today, you can catch the films on TV, usually on bank holidays. Simple, silly, and lots of fun, as comedies should always be. Remember the tingle of excitement you felt whenever you heard the popman pull up outside your house? What sugary delights would he be leaving on your doorstep this time? Cream soda perhaps? Or maybe some cherryade or limeade? Whatever, you knew you were in for a treat. Often it's the simplest things that bring the most joy. The brand of pop you had delivered often depended on whereabouts in the country you lived, with Corona and Alpine being two of the most famous. Which brand did you have? The Queen's Silver Jubilee was a huge celebration across Britain in 1977 to mark 25 years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Most of us who were children at the time will likely remember the street parties that took place across the country. There was a palpable sense of community with everyone coming together to celebrate. Tennis star Virginia Wade won the Wimbledon ladies singles title in the same year, adding even more excitement to the Jubilee. If you remember those days, you know how special they were. The Raleigh Chopper wasn't just one of the most distinctive children's bikes of its era, it was one of the most iconic symbols of 70s Britain. With its legendary handlebar and seat design, the Chopper was the ultimate in cool, like a Harley Davidson for kids with all the freedom that came with it. With models like the Grifter and Striker also around at the time, Raleigh really was the king of bikes. Another iconic symbol of 70s Britain was the Space Hopper. These orange bouncy rubber balls with handles were all the rage among 70s kids. Introduced to the UK in 1969, they became a bona fide craze during the decade. If you didn't have a Space Hopper, you were missing out. The joy of bouncing around the back garden was unbeatable, even if it was sometimes a struggle to get more than a few millimetres off the ground.
Everything you wear says something about the kind of woman you are. That's why the perfume you choose is Tweed. Because wherever you are and whoever you're with, Tweed says just what you want it to say, right through the day and longer. Tweed Parfum de Toilette Spray, the finishing touch.
T also stands for tank top, another iconic 70s fashion item. Also known as a sweater vest, this was a popular wardrobe choice for men and women alike. Although it might seem terribly old-fashioned and naff now, it was the height of fashion back then. If you had a tank top, you were in style, no questions asked. Unigate was founded in 1959 with the merger of United Dairies and Cow and Gate. During the 70s, their milk floats were a regular sight on Britain's roads, delivering fresh milk right to your doorstep. Unigate made an iconic series of television adverts during the 1970s, featuring unseen characters called Humphreys. The catchphrase, "Watch out, there's a Humphrey about," was soon uttered across school playgrounds across the land. The adverts also featured big names like Benny Hill, Sid James and even Muhammad Ali. Unigate made getting your milk a bit more fun.
I'd like to see them get in now.
Watch out, 'cause the Humphreys are back.
Popular 70s shampoo Vosene was first made available in 1949, and although it began to decline in popularity during the 80s, it remains fondly remembered by many people today. If you had Vosene in your bathroom, you were on trend. It had a distinctive scent and was often part of the family bath night routine. If you were a kid during the 70s, it's likely that at some point you had your hair washed with Vosene.
A Wimpy?
Drive, drive, drive up to a Wimpy. You'll find one wherever you roam. And walk, walk, walk into a Wimpy. 'Cause Wimpy is the hamburger home.
Wimpy hamburger, cheeseburger, king size cheese. Get that giant size taste. He's waiting for you when you walk, walk, walk into the home of the hamburger. Walk into a Wimpy today.
Wimpy, it's the home of the hamburger.
Woolworths, the most missed of all lost shops. In fact, it wasn't just a shop, it was a part of our lives. Everyone of a certain age has memories of Woolworths, whether it was buying your favourite toys, getting pick and mix sweets, or just browsing the aisles for some fancy new kitchenware. Woolworths Christmas TV adverts were a huge part of the holiday season, bringing a bit of cheer and excitement. Although Woolworths is no longer around, the memories certainly remain. X is for X-ray specs, those toy glasses that gave the illusion of being able to see through things. Usually advertised in comic books, they were a hit among kids who wanted to feel like they had superpowers. The idea was that you could see through your fingers, walls, or even people, although it was all just a clever trick. First sold in the United States, they became a popular novelty item in the 70s. If you didn't have a pair of X-ray specs, you were missing out on some good old-fashioned mischief. Y stands for Yorkie, the chocolate bar released by Rowntree's in 1976. Marketed towards men as a manly chocolate bar, the name derives from the city of York, where Rowntree's was based. The famous advert upon launch featured a trucker eating a Yorkie as he drove his lorry. It had a rugged, no-nonsense appeal, perfect for those who like their chocolate straightforward and chunky. Remember Zoom, the rocket-shaped ice lolly first introduced in 1962 by Lion's Made? This frozen treat had an iconic rocket shape that appealed to children everywhere. It was part of many a summer afternoon, with its vibrant colours and fruity flavours. The TV adverts even tied in with popular Gerry Anderson TV series like Thunderbirds and Joe 90. If you had a Zoom, you knew you were in for a refreshing treat. What are your favourite memories of the 1970s? Do be sure to let me know in the comments.
Evel Knievel.
If you enjoyed today's video, a little click on the like button is always much appreciated. As always, thanks for watching, and do join me next time for more nostalgic goodness.